Hello, good morning. Welcome to the next session. Don't do it like Joe. All about family, friends, football, and Forex. Today, welcome with me, Alex Douedari, a Forex and CFD market professional. Hi, Alex. How are you doing?
Hi, Joe. Hi, Joe. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Yeah. I'm watching a bit of Australian Open, a bit of tennis. Normally, it's
All
all
right.
about family, friends, football, and Forex, but I do an exception. Yeah. How are you
All
doing?
right. Well, at least it's a ball involved, right?
Yeah, it's a bit smaller and also fun. So
Yeah.
thank you for taking the invitation, Alex. Our path,
Sure. I'm glad to
career
be here.
path, crossed
Mhm.
since 10 years on and off,
Yeah.
more intense. I have you in memory as highly professional,
Thank you.
analytic, analytic, and sometimes as well, if needed, critical. But we haven't been in we haven't been in close touch for a while. We
True.
touch base again as I open the question on the CFD spoofing. Now, Alex, before we go in detail, would you like to introduce yourself? How did you get in Forex and what are you doing right now?
Yeah, of course. Sure. Well, first of all, I want to say, Joe, like I really love your content. I like this whistleblower kind of attitude, standing up for what's right, and actually even thinking about doing the right thing, and that kind of a lot of people stop doing that. I guess they stop believing it's possible anymore, kind of sucked into and by the system. And, it's upon us to make a change. We have this individual stage these days that we should actually use. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that here with you as well. Um,
Thank you.
so look, I started in FX actually like every sucker in a way. I lost money. I was tricked into believing it's an easy way to make money, and I lost all my money, and I lost my parents' money on top. That's a long time ago, and in a way, many of these things haven't changed too much in the industry, right? And that's why it just changed. For the shape and form has changed. And so after that, I had no way back. Like Tony Robbins says, you want to take on the island, you got to burn the boats, right? And that was kind of my situation. And I really put in the work to, work my way up at a German private bank at the time. I remember you were at Citi at the time, I believe. And this is where I really learned everything about my career today. And eventually, I moved over from the provider side to the asset management side and worked out of Switzerland, in fact. And there was also a greatly successful time. We won some trading awards, like the Investors' Choice Award in London. We went to like a nice gala in the Dorchester Hotel, all this fancy stuff, went to Manhattan for a hedge week, Best Macro Manager Award, and these kind of things. So, well, those were great times. But what I noticed is that still the FX industry was regarded by like the big guys as something like a fringe industry. Like those guys are a bit odd, you know what I mean? And I never understood quite why. But I think it has to do with that FX was more of a Wild West kind of thing, and in comparison to like traditional asset classes. And so I decided I didn't want to go corporate further in any way. And I really became self-sustained, trading my own money actually, and went private, I guess, for a number of years until an old client of mine came to me and said, like, hey, he was a co-founder of BD Swiss, today actually quite successful brokerage. And at the time, there were a little binary options shop. They were kind of like the name BD Swiss was reminiscent of another company at the time. That's how they actually started, And he said, hey, we want to do this education thing. We want to transition to FX and CFD. We think you'd be a good fit. And this is how I started with this whole education thing, And it was great. Like also a number of years I worked there and had thousands of webinars and really, had contact with people that were interested in learning about market. But whenever I really thought we could go above and beyond at some point, the brokerage wasn't really on my side. And I guess it has to do with the intrinsic, structure of how they make money, which is, they're not really interested to educate their customers, but to give them reasons to click in a way and let the math, the odds work the rest out for itself, I suppose. That's like the simple version. No hate, no judgment, just talking about how it is, really, I don't want to sound like as if I'm, Mother Teresa or anything, but I still think, like you said, it's a critical thing we need and want to talk about whether we want to continue down that road in that way. And the whole idea of CFDs, market making, synthetic liquidity, risk taking, internalizing, I think it all comes down to a certain question, and that is really about like if it's all about the bottom line only, or if we're really want to change this world, or let's make it less idealistic. Let's just say use this technology and also the amount of money all these companies made by now to make an impact that can actually benefit people to access financial markets and not get into it with the wrong ideas, right? And because look, I live in Cyprus these days, so I see a lot of, people that actually work in the industry here. Those are young, ambitious, people that really are good, Tony Robbins kind of philosophies, everything's really positive. Yeah, at some point they kind of realize the ugly truth of their industry, which is more or less built around luring in naive people and sell false dreams in one way or another, which may be an overstatement from my side here, but this is what I'm seeing. And I think even what changed. So look, when you and I were working in sales, which was a long time ago, our clients were, lawyers, doctors, dentists, like, if those guys speculated and lost some money, they still had plenty, right? But today, the industry is really, technologized and capturing little accounts, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of them. So basically, you're taking money from the poor and making them poorer. And that's a question that you want to ask yourself. That's why you see actually the industry develop more sideways. They found this way of extracting money and went to more and more countries applying the same principle, poor countries. Let's be honest. Come on, and that's something I just want to put out here something to think about. Is that something that we want to continue to do? The way like IBs are incentivized, or the CPA of upfront big money payments, and they come up with all sorts of marketing ideas to capture that money, obviously. And it's all built on the client's losses, though, and nobody's telling them. Yeah. And that's why I think right now it's at this point in time, it has become a matter of leadership more than ever. And I'm happy to explain that a little bit more. But you just asked me for the introduction. I already went overboard with what I want to say here.
I love it. I love it, Alex. And actually, maybe it was you who inspired me to do these short videos, because I visit your website once in a while, and I find your videos actually content-wise excellent, and they are a bit more entertaining than mine.
Oh, okay. But I guess we all work with our personality.
Yes, very, very good. Now, when somebody would ask, because you talk about the Forex market as well, specifically, if you would have a choice between three answers, how would you do them? The Forex market is a pool of sharks. The smart kills the stupid, or the broker bank takes it all. Which answer would you prefer from the three?
A mix between 2 and 3, because the smartest is the broker and the banker right now. Doesn't mean they will always be, but that's kind of would be my response. Like pool of sharks, okay, everything is a pool of sharks. Like we live in a world that has danger everywhere in a way, like that's just part of the system. I'm not here to change reality or to not accept it, but within that scope of reality, we have choices, and that's why I think don't be stupid is a choice you have to make on a personal, individual level, and so we can't take the people losing the money out of their responsibility, but also we should think about the system that is being created that really dumps them down and doesn't even help too much for another choice, but what I think is that technology is changing that, information travels around the world at the speed of light. That's just something that we totally, that's out of the question. It's not debatable, and what I think, for example, I have a student in my mentorship. She's a very nice lady from Indonesia, like a poor country, and she's a housewife, and she has like this friend on WhatsApp, and she always posts this posh, nice pictures, and she wanted to find out what's going on there. Yeah, of course, I'm trading. Here's my signals. You want to join? And now my student continued to do that, and she was losing money and really thinking it was her fault not executing the signals correctly, when the signals were never designed to work, and that posh lady is not posting her earnings from trading but from her clients' losses. And I think that is so upside down, and this has to do about education, about transparency, and because now to really give people a choice of what they want to do. I think it's mind-boggling what's happened here, and this is why I think it's time to think about how to change this, not settle for this any longer. Also, again, Tony Robbins says you get what you tolerate. If you settle for this to be the status quo, then all we're going to get back of it is misery and pain, for many, many people, us included at some point, and yes, it takes courage and willpower to stand up to this current status quo. It's making billions, all right? So they want to shoot me for saying that, I guess, if anything.
In Cyprus, you're safe.
Well, hopefully. But look, I mean, and I think I want to appeal to the human in every one of us. Look, I have children. I believe I'm not the only one who has any. And I care for what legacy we leave in this world, what values we stand for, and I think even simply in this age of digital, I call it transformation, the lack of transparency won't be able to continue to exist forever. So therefore, the first companies that will change their business strategy from not being one against their clients, not being the adversary of their client, will have the highest chances of success in the long term. Because what they will find out, and I'm a strong believer of that, is that trust is a real currency. Realness, honesty, transparency, those things are real currencies. And the lack of those will bankrupt the ones who don't have it eventually. Especially in this digital age where information, like I said, travels around the globe at the speed of light. And that's just something really I want to put out here, because also, sure, go ahead. Sorry.
Alex, question. Like guys like you are in the market, I think almost also 20 years. You have represented a private bank in Germany. You have sit on round tables and heard so much, and myself similar. And now you and me are discussing how we can make the industry better. But isn't it normally the regulators who should do that? The external auditors, the internal auditors? What do you think about their role in that game?
I think their role is one of complacency. I think your post yesterday nailed it. The guy who called out in the Financial Times was the one who was accused of market manipulation. I think those guys have no clue what they're doing, actually. They're completely lost in an old world. They don't have an idea, actually, how this industry is making its money. And so I believe that these regulators are way behind, just from understanding the structure and the concepts of what's going on here,
Yes.
So not to bad talk them, but to give reason for improvement,
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I hear that from other market professionals. Unfortunately, and as it is true, I can disclose it. I have spoke with market professionals who were accused of something, but the regulators who sat next to him, who wanted to find out if they did something wrong, they didn't even know what they're doing. So how you want to be a prosecutor prosecuting something when you do not even understand what you are looking for? So
it's a shame. It's a real shame. They should hire people. They should hire qualified people, actually, if you ask me.
Yes. Hire people. Speaking about transparency, I really like that, what you mentioned. Education is key. You have right now on your LinkedIn profile, finance and trading coach. So what is your flagship right now? And how do you select your broker or bank? Like when you have now, how do you do it?
Like first of all, in my mentorship, I try to teach people I want to help them to help themselves. I'm a big fan of stoicism. I think that there's virtue and value in the principles you stand for, and also to the obstacle is the way. Like challenge is part of life, and I really want people to understand that succeeding in trading is work, rules, systemization, finding out, changing, trying again. Planning, measuring. Like it's a whole engaging thing to do. And So choosing the broker, obviously, look, there's different. I'm not saying like booking per se is completely bad, because there is a quality of execution that you can get from a quick executing that you cannot get if a trade needs to be confirmed through numerous layers and levels. So but what I care about more is that whatever you're trying to trade is that you're not being disadvantaged, and that there is a safety of your capital involved, So obviously regulation in that sense does make sense, and I also agree that too high leverages is just not good for anyone starting. So from that perspective, I think that does make sense. But really, what I more care about is that. And I never thought that this would actually be the case. When I started in this industry, I never thought this would be happening. Like, trading has become more than just business. It's evolved into culture. Kids today want to be entrepreneurs and traders, and I think we have a responsibility to fulfill here. And that's what I want to put out to my industry peers in this conversation, and because again, I think it's about the future of leadership. Are we going to see a world, because I believe we do, a world of less and less authority through technology, trustless technology. It will transform a lot of things we can't even begin to think of. But sure, we will see technology will reduce or even remove the need for an authority and a middleman type of structure. So to be, sovereign, self-sustained, driven by good values, really working hard and try to make a difference and give value and impact. This is what I teach my students, actually, to develop that for themselves. In trading, I think those values, they are evergreens. And that's why I'm a big admirer of Stoicism, the likes of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca. Those are like thoughts that are run through my mind, And so, yes, now I'm here and I'm voicing my opinion. I'm definitely not voicing a popular opinion, but, I'm willing to fight for what I believe is right. The obstacle is the way, like I said. And I guess that's what we're here for in this world as well. And you're doing the same in a way.
Yes. Alex, how does someone can become a client of yours? Like he just calls you up, and how do you do it?
Well, generally what I do is that anyone who's interested, they contact me either through, Instagram, LinkedIn, like social media, actually. You have direct means of communication with your target group, but I'm not looking to mentor anyone. And I'm not saying that in order to sound like, hey, I'm too exclusive for you. No, what I mean is that I want people that are not following a broken dream. I want people that are willing to work on themselves, that are willing to really go through struggle and hardship in order to learn, to go through self-realization and developments, and so they can actually take a skill set out of it, not just a card trick that they're mimicking from someone else, and so that's what I do. And where anyone can contact me and just reach out, and typically we'll have a chat back and forth. Maybe when we get on a call together and we just see whether we're a good fit. And that's how it works.
So I understand, right? You're an independent trading coach who takes clients on board. Okay.
Quite accurate. Yes.
And you select
I
your
still
broker?
Trade also. That's actually like my main thing. I still trade, and but that has evolved, actually, the whole mentorship thing, through friends that I mentored before I ever thought of becoming one. And they really put me out here and said, hey, you got to do this for others. We really benefited a lot, and and then we created this whole thing. We call it the Prime System, because really, try to be as realistic and real with what you do. Learn about the cause and effects, the impacts of what you do. Try to improve. Try to, reflect correctly. And these are all virtues that literally reflect on every area of your life. And people just think, Forex is this flashy, quick, rich, whatever, Lamborghinis and all of this stuff. And sure, when I go to Dubai, I drive a Ferrari and think it's great, but it's not to tell people like, hey, come into my group and I'll show you how to do that. There's a different type of quality going on here. So yes, it's about putting the reality of trading out there. That's really what I'm trying to do, and what I'm helping people to develop a process for themselves that will eventually give them skills, so they can go out and fish themselves, and that's what we do here. So I'm not selling a single strategy. I don't have the holy grail. I didn't fall from the sky. It's actually a working process and progress, and that goes for anybody out there. And I think anybody can do this, because contrary to other areas in life, like, look, if I wanted to be Beyonce, I need to work on my looks and voice a lot, But if I want to be a trader, I can much better catch up to that, what I need to be in order to achieve that.
Yes. Let me do a close up after this Beyonce. No, you look good.
Yeah, look at this.
No,
but I think you get the gist of it, right?
Yeah. Alex, yes, I got the point. Yes, you cannot easily become Beyonce, but you can become the world best trader if you work hard.
Actually, that's what I meant. 100%.
Now, question, Alex, for you on the what asset classes do you trade, or teach to trade? Is it like Forex, CFDs, precious metals, or is it even something else?
Actually, I don't specify. Like for my students, I say the choice of market that you trade has a lot to do with you also. Like the time zone you live in, the time you can spend in front of the computer, the type of strategy you're trying to trade. So literally, there's nothing I wouldn't touch to trade. Anything that has numbers and moves, I'll be on it if I can.
Okay. So this question leads me to, I don't know if you follow all my videos, but I have traded the last 20 or 25 years, options, shares, CFDs a little bit, precious metals, Forex.
Okay, so more traditional, basically, right?
Yeah, the alternative investments, with a bit of a margin account,
for alternative investments.
Right? Yeah, and then I got all this horror news from 2020, mainly the spoofing news from JP Morgan, that they spoofed the market over the last 7-8 years, undiscovered, and Deutsche Bank as well, got only discovered by whistleblowing. So, and I lost quite some money in precious metals during that time. Now, I didn't know if I maybe lost just because the markets were manipulated. Yeah, because it's a valid question, I think. But what is your view? I stopped trading New Year just out of a principle now. But if you want to convince me to go into trading again, do you think the markets are right now still manipulated, or are they clean now?
I think they've never not been, to be honest, and not our markets, but in general, always whoever could impact the markets or have some grasp over it would do it. And I think that we see that also in the crypto space, because it's much easier to do pump and dumps over there. And it's, for one, it's not illegal to begin with, I suppose. And that's why a lot of people do that. And Wall Street Bets is the same kind of thing. It's also a pump and dump scheme. And the early ones, the early adopters, they make the money. The late ones, they're actually the ones being eaten. And I think the question is more not about whether markets are manipulated, because look, the way I see it, you want to change the whole, you have to start with the micro. So we've got to train people to become different. We need to be as people different. As long as we're FOMOing out and we're jumping on the bandwagon of some rumor, and then this stuff will continue to be part of our reality. But the more we have a structured approach to our financials and a more understanding and education and do our decisions out of reasoning and planning and strategy, the less these things have a way to exist, and so that's the way I see it, change it from the inside out. I know it's a long way. It's not an immediate solution to this, but I really think that you cannot just work with symptoms. You got to work on the core issues, And I think the core issues is a lack of education, is a fear of missing out, because we're living in a predatory kind of world. It's eat or be eaten. And I still think that technology would change a lot of that in the next coming generations. I'm an idealist at heart when it comes to that.
Okay, so education is key. We agree on that one. transparency
Absolutely.
as
Markets
well.
are manipulated, absolutely. And the bigger the guns at play, the more impact they have. That's why you see the big banks do this play, and they don't need to do much. When they know kind of range, they can like push the ball back and forth between each other. Then it's easy to accumulate and to unload, and and I think this has been going on in an extent that we can even only dream of, and we don't even know about it, not even a little bit. And we're the ones who actually have eyes to see that.
Alex, I heard recently something which I liked a lot. Someone said to me, it's scary what we know, but it's probably more scarier what we don't know.
Yes, I agree. But again, here, instead of, focusing on things I don't have control over, I want to focus on the things I do have control over. And I want to go all in on those, and because if I end up worrying about things all the time, especially about things I can't really impact, and this is what I tell people, like a lot of my students ask me, what do you think about stop fishing and bank manipulations? Because that's what kind of the ghost that goes around even on social media for young traders, that the banks take it all and they manipulate the market, they push you over your stops and all of these things. And I think there's quite something to it. But what I tell my students is that, look, guys, the reason it works for them is because you behave in a way they can, they expect you to. So when you start to, put your stop losses differently or trade in different, contexts, and, if they don't have bait anymore to, that is biting, then they can't do this play anymore. So what I say, like, structure your strategy around that. You need to take the account for that, and you will not change the banks pushing the prices or widening spreads or causing spikes or, but you have to consider that in your testing and see how many times in my past did that actually impact my results, so that you can start to account for it and plan with and for it, or even choose a different strategy to begin with, because you can't, it seems, because there will always be the spike coming that kills you, I guess.
Yeah, let's speak about this topic because it's also a main topic of a CEO of a brokerage now in Australia, who launched this discussion, A book, B book, and actually during that research, we actually found out that 89%, up to 89%, it's quoted in a website, independent investors of the CFD traders lose money. So a book broker, when 89% lose money, he has only the commission. A B book broker, when 89% lose, has the full money of the clients. Basically, the deposit changes hand. The money is not gone; it just changed hand. Yeah,
it's literally been internalized.
It's internalized, exactly. So this CEO also said he cannot understand anymore any client who trades with a B book broker, because when you don't have the feeling that the broker is on your side, why would you trade with someone who trades against you? Yeah, what is your view on that?
I tend to agree with this. What I liked mostly also what he said is that he said he runs an A-book broker that has about 80% profitability compared to the B-book broker. So not too far off. That's maybe I'm wrong on a number, but that's what I read. And when you think about how much the B-book schemes are optimized and already squeezing every little bit of juice out of it, and it's only 20% more than if you ran a legitimate business, not against your clients, then you have to talk about what is the potential of a book if we really try to optimize that side more, like what is the potential of profit from that side if we're already 80% along the way, and so again, really, I think if you ask me, it's a question of leadership, in all of these brokers, are we focusing on, concealing our earning streams, trying to rationalize and justify our business ethics only in the name of profit in order to squeeze more margins willingly, and actually creating a cancerous structure in our society that is sucking in our kids, actually, or do we want to really build something of value, so more people can globally can actually participate in the upside of the financial world, And really, I want to put this question out here. What kind of leader are you? Is the question I want to pose to every C-level person out here who will watch this, in our industry. And I'd love to hear your answers, guys, or gentlemen. Let's make it formal.
I
think it's a question that we really want to have to ask ourselves, right?
Yes. You want to really build up a global casino, which many people say it is now. After this GameStop incident, it got really disclosed. I mean, there are voices out there that markets are very hard to manipulate. but when you just see an incident like GameStop, I mean, a few amateurs grouped together and push the market up like 200-300%.
Yeah.
I can't listen anymore to someone. The market cannot be manipulated when there are 3 hedge funds based in the Seychelles or in Cayman Island and they want to do something. So they can do it.
So think about that. Basically, the narrative is you cannot manipulate the market. Maybe that narrative was so nobody else tries it, and the ones who knows about it know how little money you need for it.
Yeah.
It was a close club.
Now, 2 last questions, Alex. One is how we got back in touch is my open questions on the CFDs. So we know for a fact, investigated by the SEC, the national regulator in the US, that the market can be spoofed by entering fake orders in the future market, and you can move the price up and down in the precious metals, which then JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank have admitted of wrongdoing. They did it over years and years, and they basically damaged investors by doing this with that practice. Now, I do not know, because I'm not really a CFD specialist. I'm more Forex and precious metals. What is your opinion? Can a market be spoofed instead using the future, which is listed on the stock market, as well with CFDs? Like, is it in theory possible? I don't want to know if it's done or not.
I think in theory it's not possible. I'll tell you also why. I think there's 2 layers that make it not possible. A CFD is a synthetic product. Like there's not a necessity for that to be actually traded on the underlying. A product that is being internalized first, and if anything hedged. So just spoofing means you're basically putting a limit out there. You're not actually executing, and the book doesn't care really on the internalized side if you have a limit sitting there or not. They may prepare their own limit in case you get executed because it's so large, so they hedge against it. But also, you're always looking at a net book, like your broker has 1,000 longs, 800 shorts, so he's basically only 200 long. So if someone puts in a not executed already synthetic order for this to move a real underlying market, I don't see how this can be possible. Maybe I'm missing something here, but from what I'm seeing here, I don't think it's possible. No.
Okay. So thank you very much. Now, if you have watched some of my previous videos, the last question is always, don't do it like Joe, is based on the principle of Jack Ma and Nelson Mandela. From failure, you learn more than from success. 100%. Do you have an anecdote from your life where you learned a lot, which you can share with our viewers?
Well, yes, it's actually my genesis story. So guys, how I got into Forex. I was a musician. I had nothing to do with this Forex thing. And I made some money in music, so I was lucky enough to make money there. And I had a friend who said like, hey, I know this trader. He's so great. And, and I think it was 50 grand or something at the time. Really, I worked years for that, put it in a managed account, and the guy lost it for me in a day. And I tried to call him, tried to text him. He didn't answer. And then he answered, I had a bicycle accident. And then he threw some loose MT4 statements back at me. Look at all my clients are making money. If you bring more money, I'll make it back. And then I'll trade more for you. You don't need to pay fees. So stupid as I was, or naive as I was, I went to my parents. They cashed in their retirement fund and they gave me that money. And I put it on the account. And we actually traded the 50 grand back. And then actually that was kind of my butterfly effect moment, how I got stuck in this industry, is that the trader called me and said like, hey, we're back. Should I close the positions? And I'm like, I don't know. You're the guy. You're trading, right? You should tell me. You just made 50 grand in a couple hours. And he said like, okay, we leave it open. Tomorrow we have twice the money. And again, stupid as I was, I didn't see what kind of leverage I had, that an FOMC meeting was in a few hours. And next morning I wake up and I had like 5K left in the account. So that was literally, so I was really, like I said, I started from rock bottom, like below sub-zero. And I worked my way single-handedly. How? Through hard work, through learning, through not believing bullshit anymore, through consistency, persistence, patience, measurable things. Those are the virtues that actually cause success in your life. And trying to, basically, I think most people lose money because they want things too easily. And when we need to change the narrative of life being easy is a good life. I think a life that is being challenged, where you have to fight for what is right, where you're really, standing up to the task, is a life to be lived for a lot more than a life of just consuming and want it to be easy. I think this is what I learned most from, that setback, that shame, that inability to come back from. And I actually did it because I learned most of everything that actually still carries me today. Yeah,
that's a very good summary, and reminds me a bit on one statement I read: easy tasks, hard life; hard tasks, easy life. Yeah, so
100%.
So
I couldn't agree more.
You're actually originally from Syria, right? I read.
Yeah, originally that's true. That's like my heritage is Arabic, Muslim, and but I don't make this too much of a like part of my personality. I keep my faith for myself, basically practicing, and but there's a humbleness in when you connected to your roots and you grew up abroad. I was born in Germany. I lived in Germany, but both my parents are Syrian, and I like to believe I got best of both worlds, which is why I see myself more of quite open to the world, a lot more than trying to be too identifying with one single aspect of one of it. And but I still practice my faith. I love that, and I'm happy with this, especially. I don't know if that's something to mention actually, but okay, that's kind of the my life, and I'm happy. I'm like, and being in Cyprus is even pretty nice. We're as close to Syria as possible, because it's impossible to be there. So that's kind of my roots. Very true. Yeah, okay, you're a good observer.
Stay like you are, Alex. And we're not talking about COVID in Cyprus now, and not about politics in Syria or
no.
We postponed. So I thank you so much for sharing these valuable insights. And for all our viewers, if you want to get in touch with Alex directly, here is again the website. And
thank you.
Well, again, and thanks. Have a good time, Alex, and speak soon.
Thanks for having me, Joe. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to your videos. Keep it up.
Okay, it's a pleasure. Okay, thanks a lot.
My
Bye-bye,
pleasure.
Alex.
Bye-bye.